When I realized I wasn't very straight, I thought that was a thing I would have to change for life. But it wasn't. So I would like to go back to that moment where one ally changed the course of my life. I had liked the boy of my music school for a few months, and on the last week of October 2023, I decided to share my feelings with him. We were very good friends, and I was afraid that coming out to him could mean the end of our friendship. But I couldn't deal with the pressure of keeping those feelings to myself, and on the last week of October 2023, I decided to share my feelings with him. I got into my car, and a strong sense of purpose urged me to keep pushing forward. If I lose this friendship, I kept telling myself, at least I am doing this for me. I picked him up, and after 1 hour of failed attempts, I managed to tell him that I liked him. And that silence that followed felt strangling. And for a second, I was convinced that our friendship was about to get wrecked. But instead, he thanked me, and he told me that I was very brave, that in my place, he would have never done what I had just done. He hugged me, accepting me and embracing me in a moment where I didn't even accept myself. And that hug changed me, because for a great part of my life, I had learned that my only safe option was to keep my most vulnerable parts for myself. But that great hug was not a hug that I felt from two places I greatly value: my school and my church. And yes, we have all been through those moments where it feels like hiding the truth or telling a little white lie might be the option to go. Staining the living room rug, smashing a good dish, or even scraping your dad's car. Moments where it feels like silence is a safer option than vulnerability. But silence has one great downside: that dealing with it alone can very easily become overwhelming. I am Alberto Agudo from Madrid, Spain. I am gay and Catholic, and having lived in that silence for years, I have first-handedly learned the importance of allyship. In this context, an ally is anyone who stands up for other queer people, regardless of their own gender orientation, gender identity, or sexual orientation. And before we start, I would like to clarify that I'm using queer as an inclusive umbrella term. When I say queer people, I'm making reference as everyone who identifies as part of the LGBTQ plus community. Also, by the emphasis that I will put tonight on personal allyship, I am in no way discrediting the need for public advocacy and political initiatives. They're both essential. So, as of January 2025, there are still more than 63 countries where being gay is criminalized, in 12 of them under death penalty. Comparatively for many, I am extremely lucky, because I have lived in Spain, which is consistently ranked as one of the 10 safest countries in the world for queer people. But safety does not mean acceptance. Even inside the safest countries and the most inclusive institutions, it can be, to say the least, a little bit hard to be openly queer in. In one of the safest countries in the world, the idea of being openly gay still daunted me. And it was not just about coming out. When I came out, I still feared being openly gay because I kept hearing stories of people who, because of being queer, faced discrimination inside of schools, exclusion from religious communities, or even violence. Being a devout Catholic, I only worried: would being gay mean I would have to leave the church? With Pope Francis advocating for the end of anti-gay laws, him stressing the equal dignity of queer Catholics, and even considering the possibility of same-sex couples getting a blessing, it seemed like the church was heading in an inclusive direction. But in many Catholic communities, it still feels that there is a great division between the queer experience and the religious experience. And it is not only me who perceive this. It is 82.1% of Catholics, lesbian, gay, and bisexual Catholics who interviewed in a survey done by the University of Central Florida responded that they perceived that the church was unwelcoming to them. 82.1%. I was a head altar boy in a parish in Madrid. And when I shared with my priest I would be on this stage saying that I was openly gay, he invited me to be a little bit less involved in the church. Now think about your environment. Think about the people around you. Because you may not know that someone who is important to you may be going through their queer journey alone, in silence, feeling that they have no one to rely on. And this is where I invite you to be the change, to be that person on who others can rely. And this is where personal allyship comes in. Personal allyship breaks a barrier and builds a bridge at the same time. It breaks the barrier of silence because it allows those who fear being vulnerable to share their journey with others. And it builds a bridge between the queer experience and some communities. As James Martin, a Catholic priest who is working to do outreach to the LGBTQ plus community, describes. And now you may ask yourselves, how can I help? How can I be that better ally? And with these 3 key steps that I'm about to present, if you apply them, you can become a more thoughtful and impactful ally. First, educate yourself. Research is a love language. By reading articles and news involving the LGBTQ plus community, you gain a context on what people in your environment are going through. There are tons of online resources such as guides and books that if you're queer can help you understand your own journey. And if you're not, they're especially important because they convey the true mission behind allyship and the difference between the kind of help that is appreciated and the kind of help that is not. Secondly, listen to others and appreciate other people's vulnerability. When someone shares with me a problem or a difficult situation, I am the first one who has that instinct to run up to them and tell them a solution, that curated piece of advice. But when someone comes out to you, that is often itself the solution, and they are not seeking for advice. By saying phrases like, "Thank you for sharing this with me," you create a safe environment where you encourage the other person to keep sharing. And going back to that moment with my friend, he was a perfect example of listening. And I, here tonight, I am a living example of the impact that had. And thirdly, but not leastly, challenge your own perspective. Sometimes we want to say phrases that are reassuring, but when we say them, they end up being harmful. I have friends who, with their best intention, have said things like, "I love you, even though you're gay." Why does it have to be even though? Sometimes we say these phrases out of unconscious beliefs that we hold because of the place we come from, the place we've been raised in. Beliefs that if we want to be allies, we must challenge and leave to one side. But challenging our own perspective goes both ways. Because when I confront people in my school, my church, and my family who still hold stigmatizing views towards queer people, trust me when I say that they make my blood boil. And I am very mindful on the way that I channel my anger because it can very easily turn into destructive force. Instead, I remind myself of the bridge building that I'm making between my queer experience and my community, and that gap that exists and that my actions close down. It takes time, and we all need to work on it. But my experience has shown me that it is definitely possible. Allyship has many shapes and sizes. There are allies who may be totally comfortable making a public display of their allyship, and there are allies who don't. There may be allies who go on political demonstrations and parades, and there are allies who don't. Instead of trying to build a rubric where we judge our level of allyship, I invite you tonight to consider the collective impact that all the different kinds of allyship have. Because I have been in places with allies and without, and I can tell you the difference that even one person can make. Going back to that moment with my friend, where one hug in the right moment changed me forever, I cannot help myself but imagine all the impact we could have if we committed to receiving others with an open heart, with actions as simple as giving a hug. Thank you.